Howdy folks, this video is to talk through the pros and cons of different sidearms to help you figure out which one you want to use, if any at all. Alright, I recorded this after a tournament to just show you all what it looks like having some of these on you. But first one I'll talk about is the mace, because it's just a really simple, just stick. There's nothing great about it, there's nothing horrible about it. It's good for wrestling. It's probably the easiest one to grab, actually, because you can just palm the mace head and pull it out pretty easy, whereas axes sometimes flip around and can be tricky to pull out at certain angles in certain situations. Also, because a mace is effectively just a stick, if you were to hand it to your enemy, if it's like the last guy up and he lost his weapon and you just want to give him a fair fight, you're not really handing him any particular advantage because it's just a stick. And I know that sounds weird, but I've actually done that twice at this point, and it just kind of depends on the intensity of the tournament. And, if it's just a friendly laid back event, I don't mind being nice to people. Next up, let's talk about the axe. Now, an axe, kind of like the mace, is a good grappling stick because you can grab it anywhere. It's good for wrestling. But the axe has the added benefit of having that edge, which can go in a gap. Whereas the mace, it's hard to gap people with a mace. I know it looks like pretty easy if you haven't done the sport, but when you actually try, the armor gets in the way a lot. Whereas an axe is a lot easier to stick in a gap, and gapping people hurts a lot worse, so that's an advantage to having an axe. Now, in holsters, sometimes axes will flip around backwards, and then when you pull them out, then you gotta turn them around, shit like that. Having a hammerback can help a tiny bit, but they still do sometimes flip around. So the mace is more simple to just pull it out when you're in a frantic, panicky state, whereas the axe is not quite as simple sometimes, but it just depends on what you want. Alright, so a sword has a unique advantage and disadvantage in that in Buhurt, you're not allowed to grab the blade. So you can't grab the blade, which can be not so great for wrestling, but also your opponent cannot grab the blade. So if your opponent keeps grabbing your main weapon and they're being a pain in your ass, you can just pull out a sword and be like, haha, you can't grab this, and then you can just beat the shit out of them with it. So that's the unique thing about a sword. So for all three of these, it's just different pros and cons. None of them are like 100% for sure superior to the others. It just depends on what you want for, your set of values or your style of fighting. It just depends. So I'm not here to tell you which is better, but I hope this helps you make your own decision on which one you want to use. Hey, if you're still watching, here's a little bonus. Not exactly a sidearm, but something else you might find useful to use. This is a pouch. And why would you wear a pouch? Well, one of the first injuries I got in Buhurt was a fractured hip because there was a gap in the plates for my brig, and then also the leg armor. There was a gap right there, and somebody put their axe right in it. With the pouch, you can put stuff in it. And what I have in here is a pretty thick titanium plate, kind of curved a little bit, and then a 1/2 inch of foam behind it. And that has taken a lot of hits from me. I don't know if y'all can see it on camera, but there are, probably literally like 100 impact marks on this thing. There's been a couple that came through the leather, but that plate and that foam really soak up the hits pretty good. So I usually have that over here on my left hip when I'm using it, and it covers up a gap in my armor and takes hits to the hip. So yeah, not a sidearm, but this is one thing you could think about using. If this was helpful and you want to see more helpful stuff, go to my channel, click on playlists, go to Armored Combat How-To/Educational. In this playlist will be a lot of helpful stuff. I've got a few of these like half done right now. They're coming very soon. If you'd like to see more fights, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. I wish you good fighting and a good day. Bye.